Listen, I'm about to tell you something about lust that will completely change how you see yourself, how you see women, how you see every interaction you've ever had with the opposite sex. And before you roll your eyes, thinking this is another morality lecture, stop right there. Because what I'm sharing isn't from some religious book or philosophical theory, but from the battlefield of my own destroyed relationships, my own wasted years, my own journey through the hell that lust creates in a man's mind. There's a mechanism in every man's brain, a program that's been running since you were 13 years old. And until you understand this program, until you see how it controls literally every decision you make about women, you're not actually choosing anything. You're just a puppet, dancing to biological strings you don't even know exist. You want to know the truth about what lust does to men. It turns us into zombies, walking dead men who think we're alive because we can feel arousal, but we're actually dead to real connection, real love, real partnership. We're chasing ghosts, shadows, projections of our own desperate need. And we call it attraction. We call it love. We call it chemistry. But it's none of those things. It's just addiction dressed up in romantic clothing. And like any addiction, it promises everything and delivers nothing except the need for more. I discovered this truth the hard way, through years of what I thought was success with women, but was actually just sophisticated failure. I could attract them, seduce them, get them into bed, make them fall for me. But you know what I couldn't do? I couldn't actually feel anything real for any of them, even when the perfect woman was right in front of me. And I mean perfect by any standard, beautiful, intelligent, kind, devoted. I felt nothing except the mechanical urge to conquer and move on to the next one. It's common to notice that men who are drowning in lust can't recognize genuine compatibility, even when it's staring them in the face. There was this period in my life, I'm talking about years here, where woman after woman passed through my life, each one potentially the right one. But my lust-soaked brain could only see them as objects for temporary satisfaction. One woman, let me tell you about her. She was everything any sane man would want. Successful career, loved children, came from a good family, looked at me like I hung the moon. We dated for 8 months, and the entire time I felt like I was acting in a play, going through motions, saying the right words, but feeling absolutely nothing except physical desire that decreased with each encounter. You see, yes, this is what lust does to your perception. It creates this filter over reality where you can only see women through the lens of sexual potential. Will she sleep with me? How quickly? How good will it be? What will she do that others won't? These become the only questions that matter, and everything else about her, her dreams, her fears, her character, her soul, becomes invisible background noise. You're not actually seeing women anymore. You're seeing walking opportunities for dopamine release, and that is why you keep choosing the wrong ones. The moment I started practicing abstinence, and I mean real abstinence, not just physical, but mental, not just avoiding sex, but avoiding the constant sexual fantasizing, the constant scrolling through images, the constant feeding of that lustful beast in my brain, something shocking happened. For the first time in maybe 15 years, I could actually see women as complete human beings. It was like someone had cleaned glasses I didn't know were dirty. Suddenly everything was clear, and what I saw terrified me. I realized that women exist on a spectrum, but they cluster at two extremes. There are women who are seeking genuine connection, who value loyalty, who want to build something real, and there are women who are as addicted to attention and validation as men are to lust. There's no middle ground. That is the shocking truth. Women are either moving toward depth or toward surface, toward meaning or toward emptiness. And when you're consumed by lust, you can only attract and be attracted to the surface dwellers, because that's the frequency you're broadcasting on. Time and again, I see men wondering why they keep ending up with the same type of woman. The drama queens, the attention seekers, the ones who use sex as a weapon, the ones who are never satisfied, always looking for more, better, different. Brothers, you're attracting exactly what you're putting out. Your lust is a beacon that calls to women who are equally broken, equally addicted, equally unable to form real connections. You're two drowning people clinging to each other thinking you're saving each other, but you're actually just drowning together more efficiently. Let me tell you about something that happened just recently that perfectly illustrates this. I was counseling this young man, 28 years old, successful in business, but a complete disaster in relationships. He shows me pictures of his last 5 girlfriends, and they're all the same in different bodies, all Instagram models or wannabes, all with the same dead eyes behind the filters, all with the same transactional approach to relationships. He says to me, "Why do I keep attracting gold diggers and narcissists?" I said, "Brother, you're not attracting them. You're selecting them. Your lust is making you blind to the kindergarten teacher who smiled at you genuinely, to the librarian who tried to start a conversation, to the volunteer at the animal shelter who would love you for you. You only see the ones who trigger your lust, and those are always going to be the ones who weaponize their sexuality, because that's their core strategy for moving through the world." Let me break down what happens when you don't practice abstinence, when you let lust run your life, because the consequences are so predictable. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. First scenario, you're going to cheat. Not maybe, not probably, definitely. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but eventually, the lust that led you to her will lead you away from her, because lust doesn't care about wedding rings or children or promises. It only cares about novelty, about the next hit, about the thing it hasn't conquered yet. I've seen it countless times with friends who swore they were different. They'd found the one. They'd never be tempted again. 5 years later, they're texting someone from the gym while their wife is putting their kids to bed. 10 years later, they're in hotel rooms in the middle of the day, destroying everything they built for 30 minutes of biological release. They always look shocked when it happens, like they don't understand how they got there. But I know exactly how. They never address the lust. They just temporarily satisfied it with marriage. And satisfaction is temporary by definition. Second scenario, you stay together, but you're bored out of your mind. The sex that was mind-blowing for 6 months becomes routine. then obligatory, then rare, then non-existent. You're living with a roommate you happen to have history with. You scroll through Instagram looking at other women while she's in the shower. You fantasize about every woman except the one in your bed. You stay for the kids, for the finances, for the fear of starting over. But you're dead inside, just going through motions, waiting for either death or divorce to release you from the prison you built. Third scenario, and this one is particularly cruel. You lose all attraction, but you can't leave, because you've become dependent on each other in every way except the one that matters. You've built a life together. Shared finances, shared friends, shared everything except genuine desire. You fight constantly because the sexual frustration has to go somewhere. So it becomes anger, resentment, passive-aggressive warfare over nothing because you can't admit the real issue. You are never really attracted to her soul, just her body. And bodies change. Bodies age. Bodies become familiar, and lust doesn't care about familiar. Fourth scenario, she becomes your muse, but never your partner. She inspires you, excites you, makes you feel alive, but you can't actually build anything stable with her because the foundation is all intensity and no stability. These relationships burn hot and bright and brief, leaving you exhausted, depleted, often financially and emotionally ruined, but already looking for the next muse because you're addicted to that intensity, that drama, that constant state of arousal and anticipation. Many people experience this pattern without understanding what's driving it. Lust isn't just sexual desire, it's the orientation of your entire being toward taking rather than giving. When you're in lust, you're always calculating what you can get. Pleasure, validation, status, experience. Love, real love, is the opposite. Orientation. What can I give? How can I serve? How can I contribute to this person's life? But lust kills the ability to love because it trains your brain to see every interaction as a transaction where you're trying to get more than you give. I remember the moment this clicked for me completely. I was with this woman. Absolutely gorgeous. The kind that makes other men hate you just for being with her. We're in bed, and she's telling me about her childhood, something traumatic that happened to her, really opening up, being vulnerable. And you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about the next position I wanted to try. She's bearing her soul, and I'm planning my next dopamine hit.